Okay, guys. So I think in the last lecture we have finished all the methods of up to this reverse osmosis. Also, we have discussed in the reverse osmosis we are using the membrane filter, semi-permeable membrane, which can be allowed to pass only the water molecules, not the other impurities. Sorry, not other any other impurities, but only we need to push. We need to apply some pressure, and when we are applying the pressure, then we will be able to pass the water molecules through the semi-permeable membrane. And this is the reverse osmosis technology we have discussed. Okay, now the next point we will discuss then ultrafiltration. Okay, so the ultrafiltration, what is this ultrafiltration? Okay, it is also kind of semi-permeable membrane is being used here in the ultrafiltration also. So let us discuss about the ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration physically separates solids from liquid streams based on the principle of size exclusion. Okay, so remember this sentence, that it is physically separating the solids from liquid stream based on the principle of size exclusion. So the ultrafiltration is a membrane filtration process similar to the reverse osmosis, as I said just now, using hydrostatic pressure to force water through a semi-permeable membrane. Same we are doing. We need to apply pressure to push the water in a forward direction, and it will also pass through the ultrafiltration membrane. It is another type of membrane. The way we are using in a reverse osmosis a semi-permeable membrane, here we are using the ultrafiltration in ultrafiltration membrane. Different type of membrane is there. So that which technology we are using in a reverse osmosis, same is applicable here in the ultrafiltration. Okay, then using hydrostatic pressure to force water through a semi-permeable membrane, the pore size of the ultrafiltration membrane is usually 103 to 106 daltons. Okay, so that much fine size is there, and hence we are calling it is a ultrafiltration. And through this, only water molecules will be allowed to pass. And basically, this kind of method is being used specifically for the colloidal particles. Okay, so we'll continue that ultrafiltration is a pressure-driven barrier to suspended solids. It is a pressure-driven barrier to suspended solids, bacteria, viruses, endotoxins, and other pathogens to produce water with very high purity and low silt density. Not a single particle will be allowed to pass through the ultrafiltration membrane when it is passing through there. So together we can use this technology likewise. Means in a simple tank, we can perform all these activities together. So sometimes in reverse or the RO water filter, everybody is using it individual residence. Okay, now in their own residence, when we are using the that method of reverse osmosis, what is sometimes it is written EV filtration on the same tank. Okay, means what? Instead of semi-permeable membrane, there is used the ultrafiltration membrane. Okay, and in that, what exactly technology is being performed? You can see here in a closed conduit, water will be allowed to pass from one side with the pressure. You know that for reverse osmosis also, we are trying to get the water with the pressure. Instead of using the motor for pressure, we are providing the proper head to the water, incoming water. Means the incoming pipe you will be connected to the storage tank, rooftop storage tank, and hence we are getting the sufficient head, and definitely by the gravity we are getting the sufficient pressure in the uh, RO filter. Okay, so there itself you can insert such type of technology and you can get done the ultrafiltration activity over here. Okay, So here we are allowing to enter the water at one end, and then there will be a screening, means smaller size particles, whatever possible to remove will be removed. In the screening stage, you can see here in this is the screening stage. Then it will goes to sand filtration. Okay, in the sand filtration, up to 10 micron particles will be allowed to remove in a 10 sand filtration. Means smaller than 10 micron particle will move forward after the sand filtration. Then next, in the next stage, you can see there is a microfilter is arranged. So here in the microfilter, up to 0.1 micron size particles will be allowed to pass through this microfiltration. And then at the last stage, there will be a ultrafiltration. So through the ultrafiltration, the pore size of ultrafiltration is very fine, and hence it will allow to pass only 0.02 micron size. Means there is it is equal to none. It is equal to none. And at the end, you will get the ultra filtered water. You can see here. Okay. So here, one more point I would like to explain, as this point has come over here. You can see that here at the start, there is a use of what we can say that use of screen is provided, then sand filter, then microfilter. Why we need to go with this stage? Why don't we apply the ultrafiltration directly? Because it will take the load of these larger size particles and it will get blocked, and hence it must be done in a stages. And that's why in a water treatment plant also we are using first a primary treatment plant in which very larger size particles can be removed, then secondary treatment, further small particles can be removed, then tertiary particles, fineness of the particles can be removed. Okay, that way here also in the ultrafiltration method, you can use all these treatments together, but this will be possible to applicable at the individual level, not at the plant. Okay, plant also it will be possible, but it is costly. So municipality don't go for that, and they treats water with the primary and secondary treatment, and then they send us. Okay. So I request you to just watch this figure. I will give you 1 minute and then we'll move forward to the next point. Yes, what message received? Let me check. Ma'am, right करायचे राहिले आहे slide. Yes, I will go back. Just watch this slide and then go. Just watch this slide. So you can write down the heading as ultrafiltration, and then you can note down this point. Okay, this is newly added in a syllabus, so there is a chance to have a focus on this topic. So you are requested to focus on this point. So please copy this slide and then we'll move to the next point. I hope you have finished. We'll continue the next point. Okay, thank you, Snehal. So, ultrafiltration work, information about the ultrafiltration, I hope you understood. Now we'll see the figure also. I have, through with the help of figure also, I have explained. Ultrafiltration is a variety of membrane, as I already told you, in which hydrostatic pressure forces a liquid against a semi-permeable membrane. Suspended solids and solutes of high molecular weight are retained, while water and low molecular weight solutes pass through the membrane. It is 99.99% is the efficiency of this type of filter. So whatever the solutes passing through the semi-permeable membrane of that technology are equal to none. Okay. Ultrafiltration is used to remove essentially all colloidal particles, that is 0.01 to 1 micron size, from water and some of the largest dissolved contaminants. So as we are using it after the secondary and primary and secondary treatment process, it can be passed only the very fine particles from this. Okay, now we are going to discuss the next point as fluoridation and defluoridation. This is the last point of this third chapter, and the remaining 3 chapters are very small chapters. That's why I have invested a lot of time in this chapter, as this chapter is very important. This chapter or first section is important from exam point of view as well, from gate point of view. So that's why I have invested a little more time as compared to the second section. Okay. So in the fluoridation and defluoridation, what is fluoridation and what is defluoridation? So before you go to understand what is the fluoridation or what is the defluoridation, I want to tell you about the importance of fluoride in a water. I want to tell you the importance of fluoride in a water. Just give me 1 minute. Haan, sir. Okay, guys. Sorry for disconnectivity. So I was telling you about the importance of fluoride. So before we are going to study the fluoridation and defluoridation. Fluoridation, simple technique to add the fluoride. Defluoridation, another simple technique to remove the fluoride. Okay. So this method, before we go to discuss these methods, I want to tell you about fluoride. So what is the actual range of fluoride required in a water? Fluoride must be in the range of greater than 1 milligram per liter and less than 1.5 milligram per liter. Are you getting? It must be in the range of 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. I request everybody to note down, please. For MCQ type of questions, this is very important. So please note down, fluoride in a water must be in the range of 1 milligram per liter, must be in the range of 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. It must be in the range of 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. Okay, noted down. Okay, now let me know if let me explain you what happens if fluoride is less than 1 ppm and if fluoride is greater than 1.5 ppm. If fluoride content is up to 1 ppm or in the range of it is 1 to 1.5 ppm, it is good. It is required. Yes, please.
मॅम फ्लोराईडची रेंज काय सांगितली वॉटर मध्ये?
1 to 1.5 ppm or milligram per liter. 1 ppm is equal to 1 milligram per liter. Okay, so in that sense you can write down fluoride in a water content. Fluoride content in a water should be in the range of 1 to 1.5 ppm or 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. Noted down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if it is less than 1 ppm, at that time, it will create the dental cavities. It will create the dental cavities. And if it is more than 1.5 ppm, decolorization of teeth, or we used to say mottling of teeth is, and deformation of bones is happening. Okay. If it is less than 1.5 ppm, it will allow to have the dental cavities. Okay, and if it is greater than 1.5 ppm, there will be a mottling of teeth. Mottling spelling you can write down MOTTLING. Mottling of teeth means what? So basically this kind of disease is being observed. The excess fluoride and less fluoride, whatever the diseases comes, these diseases basically attacks on the childs, and hence we observe that cavity issue, dental cavity issue in a child's, as well as mottling of teeth issue is also in childs. Mottling of teeth means what? Multiple times we observe the childs are having the yellowish color teeth. That doesn't mean की ते दात नाही घासत व्यवस्थित. आणि युजली हा प्रॉब्लेम विलेजेस मध्ये येतो. का तर विलेजेस मध्ये डायरेक्ट बोर वॉटर किंवा तिथं जे काही ग्राउंड वॉटर सोर्स असेल त्या ग्राउंड वॉटर सोर्स मधून पाणी प्यायला वापरलं जातं. आणि म्हणून तिथं काय होतं की तिथं फिल्ट्रेशन किंवा कुठली ट्रीटमेंट अप्लाय केलेली नसते, डायरेक्ट यूज केलेला असतो. आणि जर फ्लोराईड कंटेंट 1.5 ppm एखाद्या ठिकाणी असेल तर त्यामुळं काय होतं की त्या लहान मुलांचे दात असे येलो कलरचं कोटिंग यायला लागलेलं दिसतं तुम्हाला त्यांच्या दातावर. That doesn't mean they are dirty, they are facing the issue of excess fluoride. They are facing the issue of excess fluoride. And if the fluoride content is less than 1 ppm, then they will face the issue of then they will face the issue of less dental cavities. Okay, आणि जर फ्लोराईडचं कंटेंट 5 मिलीग्राम पर लिटर पेक्षा जास्त झालं, म्हणजे 5 ppm पेक्षा जास्त झालं, तर दे विल फेस द इश्यू ऑफ बोन डिफॉर्मेशन. I request everybody to write down these 3 sentences. Less than 1 ppm fluoride, less than 1 ppm fluoride causes, less than 1 ppm fluoride causes, less than 1 ppm fluoride causes dental cavities. Dental cavities. more than 1.5 ppm fluoride causes, more than 1.5 fluoride causes mottling of teeth, MOTTLING, mottling of teeth. Or we can also say as dental fluorosis. Mottling of teeth is also called as dental fluorosis. Spelling is FLUOROSIS. Dental fluorosis. Okay. Then next, the third one, if fluoride is greater than 5 ppm, fluoride is greater than 5 ppm, it causes deformation of bones. It causes deformation of bones. Okay. So these are the three issues with the fluoride. Means we need to take care. It must be in the range of 1 to 1.5, maximum 2 or 2.5. It should not be goes up, or it should not goes down to avoid the such kinds of health issues. And that's why equally fluoridation and defluoridation is important to maintain the health issues in a child. Okay, so that's why we are studying the fluoridation and defluoridation. Simple methods. Okay.
Please repeat
Yes, please.
that all three sentences once again.
Once again, I
Please
should repeat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the first statement I made is if the fluoride content is less than 1 ppm, it causes dental cavities. It will causes dental cavities. Okay. And if fluoride is greater than 1.5 milligram per liter, it causes mottling of teeth, MOTTLING, of teeth, or it is also called as dental fluorosis. It is also called as dental fluorosis. Okay. And the third one statement I made, excess more than 5 ppm fluoride causes deformation of bones. असं तुटतात बोन्स, असं पटकन एखादा थोडासा खेळता खेळता पडला तरी त्याचं हाड मोडलं जातं. दॅट इज द कॉज ऑफ एक्सेस फ्लुराइड कंझम्पशन. Okay, got this?
Yes,
Got this,
ma'am.
guys? Okay, thank you. Now we'll continue. What is the fluoridation and what is the defluoridation? Okay, so I request to write down the heading fluoridation and defluoridation. Fluoridation, water fluoridation is the controlled adjustment of fluoride. It should be controlled adjustment. It should be in the range of 1 to 1.5 milligram per liter. Controlled adjustment of fluoride to a public water supply to reduce the tooth decay. Either they cavity form होतात किंवा तिथं dental fluorosis होतो. Fluoridated water contains fluoride at a level that is effective for preventing cavities. This can occur naturally or by adding fluoride. Fluoridation does not affect the appearance, taste, or smell of drinking water. This is important. Okay, sometimes we feel that if there is a color, then we can say something is wrong. Okay, or if there is a small, then also we can judge it is a wrong. But when excess amount of fluoride is there or no fluoride is there, it is not affecting on the color or smell. So we cannot judge what is the situation, what is the condition of fluoride in water. Okay, it is normally accomplished by adding one of 3 compounds to the water. How we can go for the fluoridation? Many of the times fluoride is naturally available in a water. If we are taking the water, groundwater or surface water, no matter, because it is one kind of mineral. But sometimes if there is a less amount of fluoride is there, in that case we need to add it artificially. And how we can increase that? By adding these three different compounds, that is sodium fluoride, fluorosilicic acid, or sodium fluorosilicate. So these three types of chemicals we can add to increase the fluoride content of particular water. Are you getting? So you can note down this slide. It is normally accomplished by adding one of three compounds. And what are these three compounds? That is sodium fluoride and fluorosilicic acid or sodium fluorosilicate. Okay. So this practice is known as the fluoridation. Okay. So I request you to copy this slide. Then I will explain about defluoridation. Please.